My name is Simone Calloway. I am 42 years old. I am a high school vice principal in Tucson, Arizona, which means I have spent the better part of 15 years watching what bullying does to kids up close every single day and doing something about it. When I was 16, a girl named Ashley Vance made my life so small I used to pray for Mondays to end before they started. When I was 41, Ashley Vance's daughter enrolled in the middle school where my daughter Imani was in 7th grade, and Ashley Vance became a school board member, and within 6 weeks of her daughter starting at that school, Imani came home crying for the 3rd time in a week and said, "Mom, Kaylee says her mom knows everyone who works at this school, and she can make sure I never get into the good high school programs." I sat with that for exactly as long as it took me to finish my coffee. And then I went to work. Let me take you back to Phoenix, Arizona, 1998, West Canyon High School. I was a sophomore and Ashley Vance was a junior, and the social ecosystem of that school was organized around her preferences the way a solar system organizes around its sun. Everything else just revolves. I was not unpopular exactly. I was quiet. I was a reader. I was on the academic decathlon team, which at West Canyon High in 1998 was about as socially neutral as you could be without actively running for class president. I did not threaten Ashley Vance in any way I can identify to this day, but I caught her attention freshman spring, and that was enough. She started with small things, the way it always starts. Comments about my clothes in the lunch line, a nickname she invented that her friend group picked up and used with the casual cruelty of people who don't understand that words stick to you. A social exclusion campaign so precisely managed that I didn't understand the full scope of it until years later when I was studying it professionally. What Ashley was doing, I now understand, was a textbook relational aggression pattern, controlling social access, spreading strategic rumors, using perceived authority. She was a junior, she was popular, she was connected, to signal to other students that siding with me was a social liability. I survived it the way a lot of kids survive it. I put my head down, I found one good friend, a girl named Tanisha, who I am still close with today. I graduated and I left Phoenix, and I did not look back. For 25 years, Ashley Vance was a name I had packed away in a box in the back of a closet. I did not open that box voluntarily. But in the fall of 2022, it opened itself. Before I go further, I want to know something. Did you have someone like Ashley in your life? Not a stranger. Someone who specifically chose you, who made you feel like you had been selected for something you didn't apply for. Leave me a city and a grade level in the comments. I want to know where you were and how old you were when somebody first decided you were a target. Because I think there are more of you than any of us ever admitted out loud. Imani is my daughter, and she is everything. She is 12 in this story, a 7th grader at Saguaro Ridge Middle School in Tucson. She is smart and sensitive, and she plays viola, and she has this laugh that takes over her whole body. And she is, in every way, a child who should not have to learn this particular lesson this young. In October of 2022, I noticed Imani was coming home quieter than usual. Not sad, quieter. The specific quiet of a kid who is processing something they aren't sure how to bring to you. I know that quiet. I was fluent in it at 12. I asked her. She deflected. I asked again. She cried. What she told me over the next hour, haltingly, in pieces, the way kids tell you things that are embarrassing to say out loud, was that a girl in her grade named Kaylee had been isolating her, turning shared friend groups cold toward her, making comments about Imani's hair, her clothes, the music she liked, and telling Imani specifically that her mom was on the school board and knew everyone at the school and could make things difficult for Imani if she needed to. The threat of institutional power being wielded through a 12-year-old against another 12-year-old. Sophisticated, calculated, familiar. I Googled Kaylee Vance, Tucson, before Imani had finished telling me the story. The first result was a Tucson Unified School Board announcement. New board member, Ashley Vance. I closed the laptop. I sat with it. And then I thought, no, not this generation, not my child, not again. Imani has played viola since she was 8. She chose it herself. Most kids, when you give them the option of strings at age 8, choose violin or cello because those are the ones they know. Imani heard a viola in a school concert and said, "That one. I want the one that sounds like it's thinking." I am not a musician. I could not tell you much about viola technique. What I can tell you is that over the past 4 years, watching Imani practice has been one of the specific and private joys of my life. The sound of it in our house in the evenings, that low, warm, searching sound, has become the sound of home to me. In the 2 weeks after Kaylee started on Imani, Imani did not practice, not once. She would go to her room and she would be quiet, and when I knocked and asked how the viola was going, she'd say fine in the way that means the opposite of fine. That was what I could not accept. Not the social exclusion. I knew we could work through that. Not even the school board threat. I was equipped to handle that. It was the viola going silent. It was watching my daughter put down the thing she loved because someone was making her feel like taking up space was a liability. I knew exactly what that felt like. And I was not going to let it happen again. I am a high school vice principal. I have handled hundreds of bullying cases. I know every step of the process. I know the Arizona Department of Education's policies on student harassment, the specific documentation required, the timeline obligations on schools, and the school board's own conflict of interest policies. I know all of it. And because I knew all of it, I knew that the most dangerous thing I could do was use my position to escalate this informally. The moment I picked up the phone and called the principal at Saguaro Ridge and said, "This is personal," I handed Ashley Vance a weapon. So I did not do that. Instead, I documented. 3 weeks of Imani's accounts, written down each evening with dates and as close to verbatim quotes as a 7th grader can provide. I contacted 2 other parents whose children had reported similar experiences from Kaylee. I found them through the school's parent network, carefully, never mentioning Ashley's name. Both families had documentation of their own. I filed a formal bullying complaint through the school's standard parent portal, not through my professional contacts, through the portal, anonymously initially as a parent. I also filed a separate complaint, this one with the school district's ethics office, regarding a potential conflict of interest, a school board member's child being named in a bullying complaint at a district school, and the board member's ability to remain neutral in any related proceedings. That second complaint is the one that mattered. Because here is what Ashley Vance, school board member, had forgotten in 25 years. I went into education. I did this work on purpose. I know every rule in this system." The school investigated the bullying complaint in accordance with Arizona state guidelines. The investigation took 3 weeks. Kaylee was found to have engaged in a pattern of peer harassment. The school's response included a formal disciplinary notation, mandatory counseling, and a structured behavior plan. The ethics office complaint triggered a separate review of Ashley Vance's eligibility to participate in any school board decisions related to the district schools her daughter attended. The review found that a conflict of interest existed and required Ashley to formally recuse from those proceedings. Ashley did not take this quietly. She attended a school board meeting and made a public statement implying that the complaints had been filed by a district employee with a personal grudge and suggested an investigation into the complaint's origin. The ethics board declined to pursue that line of inquiry because anonymous complaints filed through appropriate channels do not require the complainant to be identified simply because the subject finds them inconvenient. I watched the board meeting recording on my laptop at 11 p.m. with a cup of chamomile tea. I did not say a word. Ashley figured out it was me. I don't know exactly when or exactly how, but she did. And she did what bullies always do when they realize the person they thought was beneath them has become a problem. She escalated. She reached out to my school, not Saguaro Ridge, my school, where I am vice principal, and filed a complaint alleging that I had misused my professional position to target her family. She claimed I had used district resources to conduct a harassment campaign. She requested an investigation. The investigation found no evidence of professional misconduct, because there was none. Every step I had taken was through public channels, available to any parent, documented through standard processes. I had been careful precisely because I knew this was coming. What the investigation did find, as a side note, was that Ashley had called at least 2 school district employees directly, not through formal channels, and asked them to pull information about the complaint's origin. That is not a parent advocating for her child. That is a school board member attempting to use her position to identify an anonymous complainant. The ethics board added that to its file. Ashley did not win the next school board election. She came in 4th in a 3-seat race. The margin was not close. First wave. Kaylee's behavior plan included mandatory participation in the school's peer mediation program. 3 months in, the school counselor told Imani's teacher that Kaylee was, quote, doing the work. I hold no permanent anger toward a 12-year-old. Kids can change. Adults teach them how, or they don't. Second wave. The ethics board conflict of interest finding became a part of the public record of Ashley's school board tenure. When she ran for re-election, opposing candidates referenced it. Voters apparently found it relevant. Third wave. A parent group I had quietly helped connect, the 2 other families with similar documentation, and 3 more I found through the parent network afterward, formed a formal advocacy group for anti-bullying policy reform at the district level. Their first public meeting drew 47 families. They are currently working with the district on an updated bullying response protocol. Fourth wave. This is the personal one. Imani picked up the viola again in December. The Tuesday after the school investigation concluded, I came home from work and I heard it from the driveway. That low, warm, searching sound. Through the walls of our house. The sound of my daughter taking up space again. I sat in the driveway for about 4 minutes. I had things I needed to feel before I walked inside and made dinner. That is what karma sounds like. A viola on a Tuesday in December in Tucson, Arizona.
Imani is in 8th grade now. She is first chair viola in the school orchestra. She has a best friend named Cora who thinks her laugh is the best sound she has ever heard. And Cora is not wrong. She knows some version of what I did, not every detail. She's 13, not a paralegal, but she knows her mama filed the complaint the right way. She knows I documented. She knows I was patient. And she has asked me more than once why I didn't just call the principal and use my connections to handle it faster. And I tell her because the way you handle something matters as much as the outcome. Because if I had used my position to shortcut the process, I would have become the thing I was fighting. And because I wanted you to see what it looks like when someone does it right, slowly, carefully, and completely. She thinks about that. She nods. She picks up her viola. Ashley Vance is no longer on the school board. I genuinely hope she has done some reflection. I don't know. It is not my business. What is my business is the sound of that viola every evening in our house. That is what I protected. That is what I got back. Subscribe to Karma Delivered. Every story is about someone who refused to let the wrong people win. I'll see you next week. Stay solid.